Hi there and welcome to my tutorial on how to design a graffiti style logo similar to the style that Mr. Don Charisma has done his logo in, and thanks to him he's asked me to do this short tutorial on this, and so I'm going to be showing you that today. And so just to let you know, this is a Photoshop CS6 that I'm using. I'm sure you can use any other version of Photoshop, as these are pretty basic techniques that we're going to be using today. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to open up a new file here. Now the first thing to note is that I'm going to be using a very large style image. Now I like to do this so that I can scale down the image to whatever size I like. Really the key thing here is to get the dimensions correct so that it's going to fit your WordPress theme or whatever image size you want to have. Just make sure the dimensions are correct. Also I'm going to pick a DPI of 300 here, so that if I did want to print it out somewhere, I'd be able to have a good sharp image on the screen here. I've actually already selected the color scheme for the background for the pixel, which is that same shade that Don Charisma is using on his site. Okay, so let's get started with the tool here. We're going to start typing up our text. Now the key thing here to see is that I'm using this Graffiti font here. Now this I had to download off the internet, so I'm sure you can do the same too if you wanted to use that. The other thing here is that I'm going to be using 150 point text, so that because my image size is quite large, I don't want it to appear so tiny on there. So when I start typing, you'll see it'll come out as a good size here. So that's what I'm going to be graffitiizing. As you can see, the Graffiti font there already looks quite nice, but now we're going to jazz it up and make it look like a real graffiti artist has done it. So the tools I'm going to use here is this layer style, and I'm just going to pick this blending options here. All the options I'm going to be using today are under this layer style here, and I'm just going to tick a few items here, and then I'm going to walk through the settings that I'm setting them to. So here we go. Bevel and emboss first, then the contour. This stroke, it's going to give us the outer edge. The inner shadow is going to give us a nice shadow inside, and the glow is going to give us a bit of brightness inside. Now the colour overlay is going to give us that nice vivid red colour, and the outer glow is going to be our sort of halo effect at the end. So I'm going to go through these options one by one, going through what we need to be setting here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here on the blend options default is I'm going to change this opacity down slightly, just so that it's going to blend in well with the background. The next option, bevel and emboss. Now this is going to give us the sort of shading effect that we're going to be using, and as I'm adjusting these things, you'll be able to see the style that's going to come out in the final version here in the preview. So I'm going to just adjust this shading here, the angle of the shading, so it's going to be lit from the sort of bottom right corner here. You can see this is where the sort of shading direction is going to come from, or come to. So that's it. That's all I'm going to be changing on this bevel and emboss. The next thing I'm going to go to is the contour, although actually I'm just going to show you that I'm not actually going to change anything on there. The next thing is going to be the stroke. Now this is going to give us the sort of shading on the outside edge, and I'm going to change this because I've got quite a large font. I'm going to change this to 19. Obviously if you're using a smaller sized font, then you'll have to adjust that accordingly. That's all we're going to change on that option. Now this is where we're going to get to the interesting sort of 3D effects. I'm going to just show you the effect that we have at the moment. So as you can see, looks alright. I've got a little edge around there, but it's still looking pretty flat. Now with these inner shadow and inner glow effects, it's going to sort of give us that 3D effect so that the image stands out, the logo stands out much more clearly against the background. So again, I'm going to change this opacity to quite a high number there, so that it stands out. And these are the ones that are going to start giving us some 3D effect. Again, you can just play around with these sort of things. You can see the effect it's having. Here, if I go back and you look at the preview here, you can see as I change these settings, you can see what sort of effect it's having there. So that's sort of giving us an edge. This is going to give us not too much of a change, but it'll all blend in the end. And then the size of our shadow, you can see there it's sort of blending in our shadow now with the colour of the text. And so that's what we're really looking for to give us that 3D effect. So I'm going to move on now to the inner glow, and all I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the colour of the glow to white to give it a nice bright edge. And the easiest way I'm going to do that is just to change the red, green and blue to 255 for the whole thing. That's white, and that's what I want. The only other thing I'm going to change here is this choke option, and you can see whenever you sort of hover over these things, it'll tell you what it's going to do. So I'm going to change these to 38, 21 and 38, and you can see again in my preview that that's given me a little glow around the top edge, which is what we're after. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this contour here to the curved contour so that it blends in better with the edging. Okay, on to the next option, which is the color overlay. And actually, I'm just going to show you that because I'm not going to change it. Again, if you want to, you can have a little play around and see what that does. So before I go on to the outer glow, I'm going to show you what we've got now. As you can see, it's looking pretty funky. We've got a nice little 3D sort of effect there from the shadow and the glow effects. Now, to give you that all-important graffiti effect of the outer glow, it's going to give a little halo effect around the outside edge, and this sort of pale yellow that it defaults to is a little bit pale. I'm actually just going to pick a slightly brighter shade so that the text really stands out, and I want it to be nice and bright, so I'm going to pick this more precise option, and I want it to be nice and wide around the edge of the text. So I'm going to up those to quite a high amount, 70 and 73, and that's going to give us a nice bright effect. Now before I reveal the final image, I've just got a couple of credits to make. The first to Mr. Don Charisma for asking me to do this easy tutorial for you, and also to Screencast-O-Matic, the software I'm using to provide this tutorial. So here's the final reveal. There we go. The only other thing we have to do is just center it. So I'm going to just highlight my two layers here, and then just center and center. And that is how you get that nice funky graffiti effect as you get on Mr. Don Charisma. Thank you for listening now, and come back again, and I'm sure we'll have some more interesting tutorials for you in the future. Bye!